Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey now, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and today we are going to be taking a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter for the next couple of weeks. That game is Farspace Foundry, and it's from Terra Nova Games. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this video, I would encourage you to follow the link at the bottom of your screen and down in the description section of the video. That will take you to the official Kickstarter page where you can find out more information about Farspace Foundry and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, what is Farspace Foundry? The storyline of the game is that there is this galactic federation that is always at war, and they need supplies for their fleets on the front lines. You and the other players have your own fleet, but it's of freighters, and you're trying to transport goods. But in particular, the game is split into two halves. So there are these foundries, which is where the game gets its name, that are spread throughout the galaxy, and they do one of two things. The alpha foundries are going to be taking in ore. They're near these asteroids that are rich with these two particular types of ore, the rubian and the skyrite crystals, and those can be transformed into the purple galactum crystals. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing this right. I apologize. But those crystals need to be processed and then loaded up onto your freighters. Then, in the same time, you can be recruiting more alien pilots and getting them to bring their freighters into your fleet as well. Then the second half of the game, you're taking them to one of the beta foundries, and that's where you're actually going to take that ore and those crystals that you have and transform them into the goods like ray guns and helmets and batteries that the fleet on the front line needs. You might be able to charge them, you might be able to upgrade your ships, and just become this ultimate shipping conglomerate. It's obviously a little bit more complicated than that, so let's go ahead and do a brief overview of the game. And remember, this is a prototype version of the game that we're going to be taking a look at. Then we're going to come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of Farspace Foundry. This is a competitive game for 2 to 4 players. Players take control of traders in a far-off galaxy who are trying to collect resources in the first half of the game, known as the Space Foundry Alpha phase, which is what I have set up here. You're going to take the crystals that you can gather as efficiently as possible in this phase of the game into the second phase of the game, wherein you're going to use those crystals to turn them into more rare crystals and use them to purchase goods, which you're going to try to send off to the galactic Starfleet. Now, because of that, you're going to get points for the different goods that you're able to buy in the second phase. You're also going to get points for the credits that you have, the crystals that you're able to maintain, and hopefully you've upgraded your fleet enough that you're not going to take any negative points. Couple things I want to mention up front. First off, this is a prototype version of the game, so you can expect that some things may change in the final version. Some of the artwork and design might change. Some of the rules may change as well, so please keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this overview. The other thing to note is that this project is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. By the time this video is published, you have a couple of weeks left. If you are interested in what you see here and throughout the rest of the video, you can follow the link at the bottom of your screen, and then down in the description section of the video, that will take you to the Kickstarter project page where hopefully you'll consider backing the project. Alright, so this is the initial setup of the game. This is for Space Foundry Alpha, which is how you're going to start the game. So let's focus in on that just a little bit to show you what I'm talking about here. So there we go. So you have everything flipped over to its alpha side. This is the main Foundry board. Each numbered space here is where one of these shuttle pieces can dock, which I'll get back to in a minute. Each player is also going to have their own warehouse docked there. So this is for a 4-player game. Obviously, you have less warehouses if you weren't playing with that many players. And each player starts with 2 blue and 2 red crystals docked in their warehouse in the station. This little board here actually describes the different special abilities that happen when someone either docks or departs a shuttle docks or departs from one of the different spaces. Here you see how there's different symbols here. I'll get back to that a little bit later. And then here is the Dockmasters module, and that is there because you can actually bribe the Dockmaster. You can do this once per phase of the game. The game is, like I said, the game is split into the alpha phase and the beta phase. In the alpha phase, you can do that, and when you do it, you'll just put your credit over your particular color, signifying that you've done it once, and that's going to let you add or remove a shuttle from any part of the station because there can only be one shuttle per part of the Foundry, and when that spot is taken, you can't take it, and you can't use a special ability there either, so you may want to bribe the Dockmaster. Now, down here, we have the different parts that you're going to try to be purchasing in the second half of the game, the beta phase. You put them out at the beginning, though, because all the players need to know what they're going to be vying for and what they should be stocking up for in that second phase. All these tokens are what you're trying to gain control of, and it will tell you at the top of the card what resources you need in order to acquire that particular item. So for the ion cannon, you need one of the blue crystals and one of the purple crystals, which is what you get when you combine the two crystals in the second phase. You see the red token flips over into the purple crystal. Then you have the number of victory points down at the bottom of the card. That's how many points that particular type of good is going to be worth at the end of the game. Now up at the top there, we have the Cantina board. One of the special ability spaces that you can take in the Foundry board from one of the different spaces, in fact this one right here with the beer mug on it, it lets you go to the Cantina. And when you go to the Cantina, you're trying to meet one of the different alien pilots that is sitting at the bar and get their help and the help of their freighter in order to carry more goods. So you'll actually, you'll have to spend a credit to do it. That's the cover charge. And then you'll be able to grab the top alien off the deck, and you'll be able to take whatever the top freighter card is from that particular alien's matching color. So if I was taking this alien, I would also take this freighter as well off the top. So we'll get back to some more details on how that works in a moment. And then lastly, as far as just the normal board elements for this phase, you have the two asteroids, the red asteroid and the blue asteroid, which is where you're going to harvest the different crystals. Here's the rest of the credits. Each player is going to start with one of those credits. And then here's the shuttles that are just out in orbit. Those are what you're trying to get down to the station to deliver these crystals into your warehouses, or to take them and put them onto your freighter. Now, what the players start off with is a deck of pilot cards, a commander card, and a freighter card. You have 6 pilot cards and 1 commander, and you'll start with 2. You'll shuffle up all of your pilot cards and take 2 of them, and then you'll add your commander card into it, and these are going to be kept secret and to yourself. Then you'll also have your freighter card. Now, all freighter cards have a normal side, which is this, and then an upgraded side. It will say at the top, upgraded. So it's going to start off on the normal side, obviously. You want to upgrade it as soon as you can, but you want to upgrade it before the end of the game because it's going to be negative points if you don't. Each one of these pilot cards, by the way, is essentially lines up with one of the different areas in the Foundry. So this pilot card is the 4. That means you're going to try to dock or disembark from the 4 section of the Foundry. The commander works a little bit different. What the commander does, he actually lets you roll the 8-sided die that comes with the game, and that determines which part of the Foundry you're going to end up in, or you can take whatever number was already on the die when you play the commander. You have your option when you do that, and in fact at the start of the game, each player is going to roll the die, and whoever has the highest number will be the start player, and you keep the die on whatever number it was and put it in the center of the Foundry, just so that when someone uses their commander, that will be the starting number. So we'll go ahead and put that there on 4. Alright, so that's just a brief overview of how you do the setup. Now, here's how the actual turns are going to work in this game. Now, I already mentioned that at the beginning of the game, each player is going to have 2 random pilot cards from their own deck and their commander card in hand. And when it's your turn, you are going to play one of those cards from your hand. So let's say that I play my 4 pilot. That means that I'm going to try to either take a shuttle that's in orbit and bring it down to the surface, or to the Foundry, into the number 4 spot if it's available, or I'm going to try to remove a shuttle that's already down in the Foundry from that particular spot, whatever the numbered card is. Now, here's the thing. If there's already a shuttle in the spot that you're trying to get to, or if there is no longer a shuttle in the spot where you're trying to leave from, you have to go to the next spot in order. So let's say that I was trying to get down to 4 and there was already a shuttle there, and I'm trying to drop off to the Foundry. I would have to go to space 5. If that one was taken, I'd have to go to space 6, and so on. If I was trying to leave and there was already a shuttle gone from space 4, then I'd have to do the same thing. I'd have to take a shuttle from space 5, and that one is the one that's going to disembark. Now let's talk specifically about dropping off at the Foundry, that particular action. Now when you try to dock at the Foundry, every attempt that you make counts as 1 storage capacity for the shuttle that you're using. So if you get it on the first try, let's say I'm trying to get to 4 and 4 is open, my storage capacity is 1. If I had to get bumped a spot, my storage capacity would be 2. I made 2 attempts, I ended up there, and so on. So you could have quite a bit of storage capacity. And what this means is that that's how many crystals you are able to take from one of the asteroids. You can't mix and match. So if my storage capacity was 2, I could say, well, okay, I'm going to load up with 2 of the red crystals. And what that means then is that when you land in the Foundry, you are able to put those into your warehouse. So if I was a blue player, I would put them into my warehouse as just like that. And every one of the warehouses during the alpha phase has a capacity of 7. But if I was trying to remove one of the shuttles from the Foundry and go back to the freighter, it's kind of the same thing. Whenever, as many attempts as you try, so if I tried 4 but there was no shuttle there, if I tried, then I had to go to 5, there's no shuttle there, and then finally 6 has a shuttle, that means that my storage capacity is 3, and I can take that many crystals from my warehouse and transport them to my freighter, which is over here slightly off camera. So I would be able to put those crystals into my freighter. And remember, you're taking from your warehouse and putting them there. The other thing that's important, and I kind of touched on this before, are the different special abilities that you're going to have access to when either you land at the Foundry with one of your shuttles or you depart one of them, and those are depicted here. So the first one you have here is the processing plant, which is the purple symbol. So if I went from the 4, the 2, the 8, or the 6, I landed or departed from there, I'd be able to do that one, and that lets me transform my Rubion, my red crystals, into the purple crystals and the galactum. And how I'm going to do that is by discarding one of the blue crystals back to the asteroid. If I do that, I get to take one of my red and flip it over onto its purple side. I have then created a galacticum, which I'm going to use in the next round to buy some of these awesome goods, which are going to be worth victory points. The other thing I do is the cantina, which I explained before, and I actually realized that I explained it slightly incorrectly, so I'll clarify that now. What's going to happen is, just like I said before, you're going to try to recruit one of the alien traders and get the use of their freighter. You're going to have to spend a cover charge of 1 credit to do that, but you actually get to flip over 4 of the aliens and choose the one that you want in order to pilot your ship. Now, when you do that, you're going to take one of the freighters off the top, like I said, but you can't take one that you already have. So if you already have a yellow freighter, then you're not going to be able to, you can take another commander, another alien commander, but you're not going to be able to get another freighter for having done so. You can only have 1 trader of each color, or 1 freighter of each color. Then you take the rest of the cards that you revealed, shuffle them back into the deck, and you also, if you take one of the alien pilots, you're not going to be able to draw another card at the end of your turn. That counts essentially as you having drawn a card, and because of you potentially recruiting these alien pilots, you may actually not, you may have more turns than the other players, because if you run out of cards, you are going to be skipping your turn. And the last type of special ability that you may have access to, which is the green one, is the Galactic Traders. These are going to let you turn in your red crystals for 2 credits. So that's what you do if you need credits in a pinch. And so, like I just briefly touched on, play is going to continue this way for the rest of the alpha phase. You're trying to get as many crystals as possible, transform them into purple crystals if you have the opportunity, and also potentially gain some credits as well, loading up your freighters in the meantime. You're going to keep taking your turns until you run out of cards to draw at the end of your turn, like I just touched on before. When every player is done and cannot draw cards from their deck, then you switch over to the beta phase. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over Space Foundry Beta, the second half of the game. One thing I didn't mention from the beginning is that now you're going to carry over your alien commanders, but you're only able to keep an alien commander for every freighter that you actually own, which makes sense. And by the way, the alien commanders actually have some special abilities. So just to give you a couple of quick examples, for instance, the mechanic here during the alpha phase is actually going to be able to use the processing power, and during the beta phase is able to use the robot arm power, which I'm going to explain in a moment. And then another card like the Forger is going to let you add or subtract an amount to the die. So all the different alien commanders are actually going to give you different benefits. Now, gameplay in the beta phase is very similar to the alpha phase, except that now what you're trying to do is just take the crystals that you acquired during the first phase and that maybe you hopefully transformed into purple crystals as well, put those into your warehouses from your freighter, doing the shuttle mechanic just like I explained before, and then using the special abilities in this foundry, in beta foundry, in order to process those, transform them into goods. Now you can actually load up your freighter with the goods that you are acquiring, and therefore get points for them at the end of the game. So if we zoom in here a bit, looking at the new special abilities that we have for this side of the board. First, you have the manufacturing plant. This is going to let you take some of the crystals that you have in your warehouse and actually spend them in order to buy some of the items off of these cards. So let's say, for example, I want to get the ion cannon. I'm going to have to discard a blue and a purple, and back to their respective asteroids, and then I'm going to be able to take one of these tokens. Now these tokens are two-sided. You have uncharged, which is where they start off, and charged. I'll get back to that in a second. You'll also notice that there is an arrow with a number on it. If the number just says 1, then that means you can only buy one good at a time. But if it says 2 like it does here, if you have the crystals available, you can buy that many goods with this one action. And the good is going to go back into your warehouse. Now, while it is in your warehouse, you have the option of charging it. That's what the second special ability is, a charging station. If you have access to that special ability, remember, you only get these special abilities if you dock or exit those particular spots on the Foundry board. But if you do that, you're allowed to charge one of the items in your warehouse. Charged items, items on their own are worth points at the end of the game, but charged items are worth extra points. Also, if you have multiple goods in your warehouse, you can spend 1 credit in order to charge all of them all at once for one action. And the last type of action that you can take there at the bottom, the pinkish purple action, is the freighter upgrades. That's going to let you actually spend credits in order to upgrade your freighters that you have in your own personal trading fleet. That's going to allow you to upgrade the freighters that you have in your fleet, or you can do repairs on someone else's ship, not one of the other players, but just generally in game, in order to gain a credit. So if you really need a credit, that's one way to do it. Now, when you upgrade one of your freighter ships, it's as simple as, let me find out where one of my freighters is. It's as simple as just flipping it over to its upgraded side, which doesn't mean anything as far as like the game mechanics, but at the end of the game, any upgraded freighters that you have are going to be worth negative points. So you want to try and make sure that you do that before the end of the game. And that's really it. Gameplay is very similar to the alpha phase, and when everyone is run out of their action cards, then that is going to signal the end of the game. Then it gets down to scoring. The game does come with scoring sheets for you to keep track of all of your different points. But essentially, you're only going to be scored for the items that you were able to take back onto your freighter. So it's not enough for you to just make them in your warehouse. You need to get them back onto your freighter, and hopefully your freighters are upgraded as well. So you're going to get 1 point for each type of crystal that you were able to put on your freighters. You're going to get 1 point for every product token is going to be worth the number of points indicated on the bottom of that product card. Each charged product is going to be worth an additional point. Each different type of item that you've collected, including each different type of product and each different type of crystal that you have, will be worth 1 point as well. Any credits that you have left over at the end of the game are going to be worth a point. And each freighter that is not completely upgraded is going to be worth each freighter that is not completely full is going to be worth -2 points, and every freighter that is not upgraded is worth another -2 points. So you want to upgrade your freighters, you want to fill them up, you want to get as many items as possible, and hopefully the scoring goods and charged, if at all possible. That is Farspace Foundry. Let's get to my final thoughts. Well, that's Farspace Foundry, and it's very interesting for a lot of different reasons. First off, you may have noticed a trend in board gaming lately of these hybrid games. Games that take elements of Euro games, but also make them a very thematic experience, like a lot of what we would call Ameritrash games. And I think that Farspace Foundry fits into that category because you have this theme of being part of this Galactic Federation and trying to get all these goods and make them and take them to the front lines. But how you're actually carrying all this out together with the graphic design that looks kind of like sci-fi and cartoony, how you're carrying this out is by doing a couple of very famous Euro game mechanics. You have the worker placement of the shuttles coming down and going to different areas and activating the special abilities on the foundries, and also therefore taking actions like placing ore in your warehouses, the crystals, or being able to take products in the second half of the game, the beta phase. But then you also have the rondelle mechanic, another famous Euro game mechanic, where you can try to take these different spots, but you might get bumped into another spot, and if you do so, you actually gain benefits for having been bumped. Your cargo capacity gets more. So you have all of these different sort of traditional elements, but you have them being done in a unique way. I mean, a lot of games don't use both worker placement and a rondelle mechanic, so that's unique in and of itself. But to tie it together with that theme makes Farspace Foundry, I think, something pretty special compared to a lot of the other games that are out there. And the game, while it may seem a bit complex, in truth, it's actually much shorter than you would think. It feels very fast because Each player's turns are just simply playing down a card and deciding what you're going to do. Like, I'm going to go here, I'm either going to deliver or pick up. There's also pick up and deliver aspects to this game as well, obviously. I'm either going to pick up or deliver, and then I'm going to, or I might be able to take a special ability, but you want to just figure out what you're trying to do with the cards that you have available to you, planning forward because you only have so many cards available for that entire phase of the game, and then just taking the best actions that you can. So it's very straightforward, and it's not too hard to figure out. It's very easy to learn, but at the same time, there is a lot of strategy. You do have to plan pretty far ahead in order to figure, especially since you have to plan everything that you want to do in Phase B in Phase A. Like, okay, I want to go for these items. I think the best thing for me to do is to get these items, charge them, load up my ships, and go. How am I going to do that? How do I plan for that now in Phase A to make that happen? Going for the Cantina is really interesting because you have multiple options of what aliens to take, but you can only have one ship of each particular type of commander. You can take multiple commanders if you want, but you're still going to be stripped down to just the bare minimum of the ones that you need to pilot the freighters that you have for Phase B. So that's another thing. You might take numerous commanders during the first half, but which ones are going to be the most useful to you, and utilizing their special abilities at the right time together with your normal pilots as well. So there's a lot of different things going on in the game, a lot of different thematic elements, and a lot of strategic Eurogame elements blending together pretty seamlessly. And if this is the type of game that interests you, then you should definitely check out their Kickstarter page. I'm going to have a link at the bottom of the screen, and then down in the description section of the video, you can go to the page, find out more information, and hopefully consider backing Farspace Foundry from Terra Nova Games. My name is Nick, this has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day in every way. Take care.